Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you're having a fantastic day. Today, I'll be showing you how to install Pterodactyl panel as well as wings on Ubuntu 20.04. Now, I've used Pterodactyl for quite a while, and it's quite honestly my favorite panel. So, I'd like to see that more people are able to use it. And the first time I tried to install it, I failed horribly, and it took a lot of troubleshooting to get it working right because I wasn't very familiar with anything like this at the time. As I said, we're using Ubuntu 20.04. You could probably do this on 20.10 as well as any newer versions and probably older versions too. However, you can also do it on CentOS and Debian. However, um, this will require some adapting. I'm going to use 20.04. And let's get on to this. Basically, I'm just going to be following the installation guide here, just copying and pasting. And yeah, so we'll just do this. I'll just go through all these commands here. I'll speed this up because this is a really slow VM that I've got this running on. So yeah, I'll just go through all this and then I will be right back. And one thing that I forgot to mention, you must add sudo to most of this. Honestly, just add sudo to everything in here, because a lot of it will fail if you don't. If it fails and you didn't run with sudo, just add sudo or do sudo exclamation mark, and that'll run the most recent command. So as we can see, it'll run that. So I will be back. I'm not going to be going over how to set up SSL in this video. I will be doing that in a later video. So definitely stay tuned for that. I'll also be going over how you can upgrade this to have SSL if you installed it only using HTTP. So here we got this really long command for installing dependencies. So let's go ahead and do that. And this will take a while. This is a really slow VM. Okay, so now that we've installed all of our dependencies, let's go ahead and install Composer. So go ahead. This will run. You might have to run this as root, I'm not sure. Okay, apparently not. And then we're going to have to make a directory to download our files in. This will have to be run as a root. There you go. Then we can cd to that. Okay. And now we need to download the panel itself. So let's go ahead. There we go. And now let's tar this. Oops, we're going to have to run that as root. Plus. Oh, okay, we did have to run the curl as sudo. Whoops, or as root. That is my bad. Sudo. There we go. And now we should be able to tar this, or, yep, we have to run that as root as well. My bad. And then this one will definitely have to be run as root. Oops. I think I did that again. I think that's fine. I think it will just skipped it or overwritten it. Sudo. There we go. And now we can do this. So we're going to copy this. Oops. Basically everything in here is going to have to be run as root. And then we're going to composer install. You do actually have to run this as root. You're not supposed to. But you have to, so I don't know what they want from me. So there we go. It's going to download some dependencies. Okay, so we've done that. That was that one. So now we're going to have to do PHP. We're just going to have to generate a key for the panel. So let's just do this. It's going to have to run as root. Let's go ahead. Set. If you're upgrading or just doing something in general, but you've already got data on here, do not run this again because it will break your panel and you won't be able to access any encrypted data. As it says here. Be sure to back this up. So yeah. So now we're going to run this. This is how we set up this is doing most of the setup here. So we're going to enter an email. I will just leave it as unknown@unknown.com. However, I do recommend setting up one of your own. Actually, no, I will set this. I think this is a valid email still. Then your application URL. So this is the web page you're going to access this through. If you're not using SSL like we're doing in this episode or in this tutorial, we're just going to want to use a local IP, so the IP of this machine. So go ahead and enter that. Okay, so if you don't know the IP, go ahead and open up a new SSH session and just type IPA. And then your IP address should be in here under inet. You can see this computer's is 1.30 or 192.168.1.230. So go ahead and enter that here. So we want to do http:// and then 192.168.1.57. 57, that's the IP of this VM. So we're going to go ahead, hit enter, and then our time zone, America/Chicago, Chicago. There we go. We're going to be using Redis. We're also going to be doing Redis here, Redis, and then yes, and then we're going to hit enter, set a password here. We'll have to go and set this afterward, leave the port as default, and you're done with that. So now we have to go set up Redis. Okay, so as we can see, if we try and run anything, really, it'll give us an error here. And what we're going to want to do is go ahead and set a password for Redis. So let's go ahead and go sudo nano/etc/redis/redisconf. Then we're going to want to control W to require pass, and that'll be not there. I think it's right down here. I haven't done this in a while. Okay, where is it? Require pass. Okay, here we are. So it'll be the second one on your page. Control C. Okay, so let's get rid of this. Put your password here. I'm gonna throw the actual password I entered. Then hit Control X, yes, and enter. There we go. And now we're going to type Redis CLI. And now config set require pass quotation marks and then the password. There we go. It'll say okay. If it says anything else, you did it wrong. God, this cat is so loud. Then we're going to type auth, and then we're going to type in your password. Now, if it says okay, we are all good. So now, if we type in exit, we're good to exit, just clear. And now we can go set up the database. So let's go ahead, do that. And now none of that is required if you're only going to ever run this locally. However, if you're not going to run it locally, you do need to set up a password because that's super insecure. Okay, so before we move on, we're going to have to set up a MySQL database. So let's go down here, open up a new tab, and look at this. So let's go MySQL uroot-p. You probably don't have a password set, so let's go ahead, create that. Now we're going to tell it to use MySQL, so let's go ahead and do that. And we're going to copy this line. And you're going to enter your password here. And if it gives you an error, just go ahead and remove this part right there. And then it should work. However, I've already created this user, so it won't work. So yeah. So now we're going to create a database called panel. So let's go ahead and do that. And now we're going to do this. Grant privileges. And then we're going to flush privileges. There we go. So now we're going to create a user, and we're already using MySQL, so we can skip that. So we're going to do this, and then we're going to put our password in. And then we're going to go ahead and copy this in. There we go, and we're going to flush our privileges. There we go. So now we can allow external database access. Okay, so now we need to allow external database access. So let's go ahead and do sudo nano slash etsy slash mysql slash myconfig. Okay. Right now we're going to scroll down to the bottom and we're going to want to copy this. Control Shift V. I'm just going to add a space in there because that looks terrible. There. Okay, so if you're running your Pterodactyl daemon, so wings, on the same machine, you don't actually need to do this. However, if you're running them on different machines, you will need to do this. I'm just showing you how to do it here. But you, in some cases, will not actually need to do this. So let's go ahead, Control X, yes, enter, and we are good. So now we can go back here and set up our database. Oops. Let's go bugger sudo there. Now our database host, that's our host already. Our port is default. Our name is panel unless you changed it. Our database username is Pterodactyl. And I pronounced the P like very lightly. What the hell? Then we're going to enter in our password. Go ahead and hit enter. And if there aren't any errors, you've done all that right. If there were any, go ahead and look back through the video or the tutorial or the documentation on Pterodactyl. Okay, so now we're going to set up our mail server. Oop, we have to run that as root again. I always forget to do this. Okay, so now we're going to set up the Pterodactyl mail server. Now, I'm not going to go over how to use SMTP in this video because that's a much more complicated process. I'll have a future video coming on that soon-ish. So we're just going to type in mail. It's not great. It's not secure at all. It probably won't work for you. However, we're going to just use this for now. We're just going to do no reply at syntheticmediagroup.com. So it's just one of the domains I have. Pterodactyl panel. We're just going to use TLS. Then there we go. Now we can do this. Oop, we're going to have to run that as root. I always forget. And I'm just going to migrate the database. Give it a moment. This will take a while given it's running on a slow hard drive and a slow server. This server is 11 years old, so have some patience. So now we're going to run this to create our first user. We want to say yes if this is your first user or an administrator account. We're going to do yes. We can do this on the panel in the future. I'll go over that. So yes, just say your email address. So everything at syntheticmediagroup.com. Username. We're just going to say everything. First name. We're just going to do everything. Last name. Synthetic. Yes. We're going to set a password. Okay, so now we've got our information. And now we need to set some permissions. So we're going to be using nginx. So let's go ahead and do this. So sudo. There we go. And now we're going to have to set up a cron tab for this. So let's go sudo cron tab -e. I'm going to use nano because I'm a pleb. And now at the very bottom of this, we're going to add this. So this will run every minute, I think is the last one. It might be second. No, it's every minute. So this is going to run every minute automatically. So let's just go yes. Enter. Okay. And now we need to create a queue worker. So let's go ahead and go sudo nano /etsy/system. Okay. System. Okay. And then /pteroq.service. And then we're going to paste this in here. Just copy it all. And we're going to Control X, yes, enter. There we go. So let's go do that. and then here. There we go. Okay, so now we're going to go set up Nginx. You can do this with Apache. Apache? I'm never sure how you're supposed to say Apache. I'm going to say Apache. And since we're not doing SSL in this, we're going to be doing the without SSL. So let's go ahead, scroll down to without SSL, and this all needs to go into a file in sites available. So I forget where that is. I can never remember. Okay, so we're gonna go sudo nano slash /etc slash nginx slash sites available. There's also sites enabled, but we don't want to touch that one. Right, whoops. And we want to call the file pterodactyl.conf. So there we go. And now without SSL, we want to copy this all. Just for ease of use, we're going to copy this into a text editor. And in here, our domain, in this case, is just going to be our local IP, 1.57. That's it, copy that, so I have to enter this again. Sorry, it highlights it on here. Okay, on this one, we actually only have to do it once. Then I'll just copy all of this. Control-Shift-V. Enter. There we go. And now, we need to create a symbolic link. There we go. And now we need to restart Nginx. Make sure you run that as root. There we go. And now we're done with that. So now, if we go to our web browser of choice, 192.168.1.57, we should be dropped into Pterodactyl. So now, what do we use for our username? I think we used everything with the password this. Save, and there we go. So we can see that we have our Pterodactyl panel working. If this doesn't work, do go ahead and look back through this guide, or comment below if you're not able to figure it out. I'd be happy to help you out. Okay, so now we need to install the daemon. So let's go to installing Wings. So let's go ahead. This is just checking that our system works. I happen to know that this one will work. So we can see that we're running under KVM, and we have full virtualization. And if that doesn't work, we can run this, and it'll say QEMU. And if it's not XEN or LXC, you're good to go. So now let's go ahead and install Docker. Actually, on Ubuntu, I think it's already installed. No. So let's go ahead, run this, and give it a moment. If you already have Docker installed, this is probably not a good idea to do because it can break things. I believe it warns you about that. This will take a minute. I'll be back when that is done. Okay, so we could give our user permissions to use Docker, but we're not going to do that. If you're using a hosting provider, we're going to want to check our kernel version, so we can use uname-r. And as long as it doesn't end in something like this, you're fine. So I'm just using a regular Ubuntu installation, so we are completely fine. So now let's go ahead and enable Docker on boot. Systemctl enable -. Now Docker. Nope, we have to run that as root. I always forget. Sudo. Okay. So now let's go ahead and run docker info. Oops. I am a stupid man. So we don't have swap enabled right now. So let's go ahead and do that real quick. So let's go edit this. So sudo nano. And then, so then on this line, I have comma I think. We're gonna see if this works. Sudo update, bloody hell, update grub bugger. There we go. And now we're just gonna reboot this VM or machine depending on what you're running it on. There we go. That will take a minute. Okay, if we refresh, our page should have reappeared, and if it didn't, you're gonna have to go back and make it start on boot. Okay, so now if we check this, sudo there we go. So now it doesn't have that error. We're gonna ignore these. This won't be an issue in your case, most likely. And it's not super problematic here. So let's go ahead and create a new directory for wings. So let's go sudo mkdir, the directory name, and we're gonna have to run this curl as root. So sudo that, and this will just download wings. Okay, so now it's done downloading. We need to give permissions to this. So let's go sudo chmod plus u plus x. And now we're going to go pop into our dashboard, and it should be working. It is. Okay. So we're going to go nodes. Actually, I think we need to create a location. Let's go ahead and just call this local. Doesn't really matter. Then we need to go nodes. Maybe we... I don't know. Okay, yeah. So nodes, create new, and then we're not using SSL in this case, so we'll get on how to do that later. Let's go name. We're just going to call this local. Again, if you have a more creative name or a descriptive name, use that. Location, local, fully qualified domain name. So if you're running this behind a domain, use that. But in this case, we are just using our local IP. So let's go ahead 192.168.1.57. Okay. And now we want the server file directory. Then we want our total memory. We're just going to tell this it has 1024 times 3. 4 times 3. 3072 is 3 gigabytes of memory. If you want to give it like 8 gigs, you do 1024 times 8, and that's 8,192. Total disk space, we're just going to do 10 to 40. I'm going to give that 10%, or else I'm going to give this a 10%. Daemon port and daemon SFTP port, we're going to leave those at default. If you're running multiple of these, you might need to change that, but in this case, we're just running one daemon, so create node. Okay. So now, let's go ahead and copy this into a file called config.yaml within cd /etc/pterodactyl ls. There shouldn't be anything in there. Let's go sudo nano config.yaml, paste that in there, Control X, yes, enter. All right. So now if you go sudo wings --debug, it should launch. If there are any errors, good luck. Google them, or just read them and kind of guess, I guess. Okay, so now we're going to go nodes again, and we can see if it's a green heart that's like beating, it's working, and it should show up in here. Whenever we refresh the page, it'll show the requests. Okay, so let's just go ahead, Control C to stop that. And now let's daemonize this. Let's go ahead and copy this. So sudo nano /etc/systemd/system/wings.service. And we're going to Control Shift V, Control X, yes, enter. And now system ctl enable now wings. Make sure you run that as root. Okay, so we've just created our symbolic link. And now it should, if we're lucky, be showing up here. So that's it. We've just installed Wings. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. How happy are you? That is actually the first time I've done it first try. I'm so happy right now. Okay, so now that we have Wings installed, we can go ahead and create a server. So let's go ahead and just create a basic little Minecraft server. Test. Oops. Okay, so in our nodes, we're going to go here, allocation, and we're just going to, this is 2.168.157, test, and we're just going to do 25565. Okay, submit. So this will create the port. So now let's go servers, create new, and let's just call this test server. Server owner, search for yourself, so it's just EV everything. Then it will have chosen the allocation, local, and then database limit. I don't set any of these, but you can. CPU limit. Basically each 100% is one core, so if you do 100%, that's one core, 200% is two cores, and so on. So let's just do 200%, that's probably fine. I don't touch CPU pinning because I don't understand it. Memory, let's just give it 2048, so 2 gigabytes. And let's just also give it 2 gigabytes of disk space. And now, we're going to create a Minecraft server. And let's just do paper. And then, it looks like everything is good. So let's click create server. Now we can see it's installing. If we go look at the server here, we should see the install script running. And there we go. Apparently we're using Java 11, which I would never recommend doing on a Spigot server. That is stupid as hell. We're going to click accept. That just automatically edits the EULA file, which is actually one of my favorite features about Pterodactyl. It's actually just a really nice feature. I guess it's not one of my favorite, but it's a really nice feature to have. Saves about 20 seconds of time. So while we're waiting for this to load, let's go look at the file manager. So we can see it's generated some files. We can look at them, edit them, all we want. So yeah, databases, schedules, users, backups, network. Basically anything you could ever imagine. It's generating the world. This is going to be really slow. We can see it's pegging the CPU at full speed. Okay, so now if we've entered the IP correctly, and we've set everything up correctly, we should be able to access it. Let's go ahead and do this. And there you go, looks like everything's working. It's definitely struggling. It's still running at 200% over here. And this is without doing anything. We are... Okay, well, the help command works. It clear doesn't work. That's right. Okay, so we can tell it's working. Let's not benchmark these really slow CPU cores. And yeah, so that's how you do this. And it's super easy to do. Now, as I said earlier in this video, I will be going over how to convert this HTTP install into an install using SSL in the next video. I will also be showing you how to set up an SMTP server. So settings, mail, you'll be able to configure this. And yeah, we're going to be going over a lot of the more advanced stuff in future videos. So, if this helped you out, definitely do not hesitate to subscribe and give the video a like. And as always, I'll see you next time. Goodbye.